Hi. I'd like to talk about survivor's guilt. So, um, last year during a session with the court-appointed psychologist for my custody case, the psychologist was going at me really hard. She wanted me to admit that I was sick. And she blurted out, "Linda, I've talked to your family. I talked to your sister. They told me that they've been trying for years to get you help, but you refuse to get help. Why won't you admit you need help? You're sick." And that scared me because the family and sister that the psychologist was talking about were the ones that I was trying to run away from because they were sick. And also, it took me back to a time where I don't like to go back to. It was about 12 or 14 years ago. I was working as an EMT, and I just finished a shift, and it was a rough one, and I just wanted to go home, kiss my babies, and go to bed. On my way home, I got a call from my sister-in-law, my little brother's wife. They lived 6-8 hours away from me at the time. And I couldn't understand her really because of the sirens in the background and the yelling, and she was hysterical. But here to find out, my little brother had taken a bunch of his antipsychotic meds and washed them down with alcohol, and he was on a bridge. Manic. Psychotic. So I drove all the way through the night, and by the time I got to him in the morning, they had placed him in a psych ward in a hospital, an inner city hospital. And the social worker and I were talking. We were watching him. They had him in a room, and it was all glassed in. And she's telling me about, psychotic modes, manic, just, all the stuff I've heard most of my brother's life. And what they say about psych wards in inner cities is true. And I knew I had to get him out of there. So I was still wearing my EMT uniform. I don't know if that helped, but I convinced her to let me try to calm him down. And if I could get him lucid, they would let him go and let me place him somewhere else. So they let me in his room, and I could still hear that door shutting, clanking, the metal clanking in the lock, and looking back at all those people going with fear in their eyes, like they wouldn't escort me into there. And I didn't know who this man was that was pacing around giving me these looks of just pure hatred and wanting to rip me from limb to limb. I got him lucid. I got him to the point where he was understanding what I was saying when I was saying, "Sam, you chill out, you got calm, you gotta let me do the talking if you want to get out of here." So I got him out of the psych ward, and we went to see his psychiatrist. And my little brother and his wife tried to pass it off like nothing, "Oh, I just screwed up. I took the wrong med, and, darn me for drinking. I knew I shouldn't drink. It was, no big deal. No big deal." And it took me telling the psychiatrist all that he'd done, the truth. And it took me breaking down and crying in front of that psychiatrist about how I've been trying to get my little brother help for years, and how he wouldn't admit it. And I have a baby at home that I need to take care of, and we need to get him help. So we found this wonderful facility, mental facility in Florida, where he could get help. He could get the help he needed, and I was so excited. And I was driving home after getting him on the plane, thinking this was the first time in my life where I could breathe. I didn't have to take care of my little brother anymore because somebody else was. So by the time I got home, our mother had found out that I placed her son in a mental facility, and she completely freaked out. And she got our brothers and sisters all stressed out also. I was a monster. How could I put my brother in a mental facility? How could I do that? And it was crazy because not one of them was like, holy moly, Linda, when was the last time you slept? When was the last time you didn't worry? You got enough on your hands with your child. Maybe we shouldn't put our stuff on you either. But that wasn't true. That didn't happen. I was tormented because I put him there for his own sake. So I don't remember how long he was there. I was allowed to talk. He gave me permission to talk to his counselors and therapists and doctors. But the whole time I struggled trying to get him to stay, and my mother and his wife, tried everything to get him out of there. So he left the facility and he went back to his wife and the life that he was living. And I talked to his psychiatrist his psychiatrist down at the mental facility after my brother left. And he told me that my brother's problem was my mother. And apparently the psychiatrist told my mother that. Apparently the psychiatrist told my mother that she was the reason that we were all sick and damaged. Whew. So he also told me he and I had conversed enough for him to realize that I wasn't sick, that the role in my family's life was to take care of them and to put out all their fires. Like drive 6 to 8 hours through the night to save somebody who didn't want saved. The psychiatrist told me to run. Grab your children and run. I don't understand, and that is my biggest problem, is I don't understand how my sister just lied like that, knowing what that put me through, knowing that my little brother is still probably just as sick as he was. Because it took me a few years after that, and it took my little brother to tell me some really sick and disgusting things that I'll never get over, for me to finally never talk to him again. It just doesn't seem like it's ever bad enough for my sister. And if you have survivor's guilt, get help. My whole life, I felt guilty because my little brother didn't survive our childhood. And somehow it was my fault. So I felt the need to take care of him because I wasn't sick. If you're in that situation right now, where you're taking care of somebody that doesn't want it to get better, run.